Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boomer Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today doing a Week 3 recap, Bears versus Cardinals. So before we get started, I had a couple things to say that I want to talk about, and then we'll get into the game. Number one, the whole thing with the roughing the passer has gone too far. I don't care that we're Bears fans. We hate the Packers. What happened to Clay Matthews was ridiculous. I don't care that the calls tonight went for the Bears with the roughing the passer. Those calls are ridiculous. What do we get into in football? There's a lot of safety measures that I don't agree with, but I understand what they're trying to do. Even to an extent with this leading with the helmet thing. I understand what they're trying to do. But with this roughing the passer, I don't get it. You tell him first you can't hit a player in the head. I understand. Then they want to say you can't hit a quarterback below the waist or hit him in the knee area. Okay, what? And then you're saying now you can't hit anything shoulder, neck up, whatever. And now adding on to that, you can't put your body weight on them or you can't pick them up. You can't drive them to the ground. What the hell are you supposed to do to the quarterback? Short of pushing the quarterback to the ground violently, I don't see what else you can do to the quarterback. When a player gets open, wraps up a quarterback, doesn't make any helmet to helmet contact, and we're not talking about driving to the ground after the ball is gone. We're talking about he has the ball, you hit him and take him to the ground. What else are you supposed to do? How can you call a player for putting their body weight on a person when they're tackling them? How else are they supposed to tackle them? It's absolutely ridiculous to me. It's an issue I think a lot of fans need to pay attention to because it's really hurting the game of football, and I would like people that don't like it to be vocal about it through your talks with other people through social media, because the NFL needs to know this is ridiculous and we got to continue to talk about that. I think even if it didn't hurt us today, there's going to be some time where it hurts us. And so some fans were like, oh, I don't care. Screw the Packers, the Bears, the blah, blah, blah. Fine, whatever. But a different day is going to go against the Bears. So I'm rallying against this. This is absolutely crazy. This is not football, I know. All right. On top of that, I've seen a lot of players this past week, a lot of fans this past week in different groups, online, Twitter, in real life, whatever. There's this notion, and it's not just Bears fans. Let me backtrack. There's this notion with sports fans and fans of different things too, that if you're a true fan, quote unquote, that you can't say anything negative. That is the dumbest statement that I've heard in a long time. I'm sorry, and I'm using hyperbole. I'm not saying you're dumb, but it does make any sense. A fan wants to see their team do well. And so if there's something negative to be said, you should be able to say something negative. Of course, most of you Bears fans don't have a problem with saying negative stuff, but there's some Bears fans that think the only true fans are the ones that just sit here and act like nothing's wrong and just say good job Bears or only say positive things. That's silly. Good fans, true fans want to see the Bears win. And so when we see things that need to be better, we talk about it. And there's ways you could talk about it, be constructive, but the point is to say overall, you can't say anything negative. That's silly. That's called constructive criticism. That's called feedback. Anybody should be able to say that stuff. So if you're one of those people, you disagree with me, I don't care. That's fine. You don't have to listen to me. I'm never going to sit here and tell anyone that, yes, it's okay to shut another fan down because they're not being positive. That's absolutely silly. So anyway, with that being said, let's get into the game. This game in a nutshell was the defense, I think having some busting communications, and that led to an early lead. The offense couldn't climb back for us. So the defense really, cleaned up a lot of issues and continued to win the game for us. That's pretty much what I saw. And it's unfortunate because I feel like after this game, there's some stuff I'm questioning about Nagy. I had questions about, time management before, but today I'm really having questions about that. And I'm having questions about his decisiveness, because it seems like there's times he wants to go for it. Then there's times, he wants to go for it, but then ends up not doing it. Or there's times that he just continues to wait. Like, if you go out there on fourth down and you decide, oh wait, never mind, I don't want to do it, at least have the offense like try to get them jump off sides. If they don't jump off sides, call timeout, bring the kicker out. So if you decide, okay, crap, I don't want to do this, what's the point of you just calling a timeout before even running a play? And now you just pretty much wasted a timeout because you were indecisive. Things like that. And things about using timeouts, like I said before, when the offense isn't getting in the right formation, or they seem confused because you running a lot of stuff, which is fine. But if you feel like there's not a cohesion on offense that week going into the game, then don't run that stuff, or at least run it after a timeout or after you got time to talk about it, because we keep wasting timeouts doing stuff like that. And so he's a first time, and I've said this before, he's a first time head coach. Everybody knows that, but people don't realize he's an offensive coordinator for 1 year. He called plays for less than 10 games. He's not a seasoned veteran coach. And so I'm starting to see that creep out, where his situational awareness isn't quite there. Much like our quarterback, Mitch Trubisky. And we got to talk about Trubisky. Everybody get in. Everybody, come together. We about to do it. Cause we've been talking about Trubisky for a while. The one thing I'll say, and I'm not holding criticism back from Trubisky. The one thing I'll say though is you sound silly saying he's a bust. You sound silly saying we need to bench him. You sound silly saying he's not an NFL quarterback. Yes, he's not putting up the numbers you wanted to see. Yes, he's not having the type of season we expected at this point. But to sit here and write him off is silly. And they're silly for so many different ways. This is not being an apologist. This is football. This is the actual game. The nature of you saying a player can't play, when how many times have we seen players click later on in their career, or click when they get to a different situation? There's so many factors in football, and I've said it and said it again. And I think if you listen to me, you understand how I operate. There is no black and white. There's no you suck, you're good. It's not like that. There's too many factors in the game to sit here and try to trash a person, especially in their second year when they've only played 3 games in their second season. That's crazy. And again, people talking about college. I don't care about college. I'm talking about now. I don't care if he played 100 games in college, which is impossible, but I don't care if he played 100 games. The fact is, as an NFL quarterback, he's only in his second season. And his second season is not even close to being halfway through. So writing him off, saying what he is absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry. There's no way. Well, I'm not sorry. And there's no way to argue that. You sound ridiculous. You sound hyperbole. You don't know. There's too much we don't know. There's too much we don't see. And there's too much we're not privy to. So you don't know. We have to wait and kind of continue to ride it out. Now, as far as evaluating what we have seen and not projecting what he is, but saying what we've seen so far, is nothing different to me personally than what I've already said. And here's one of the interesting points that I would point out. With our offense, I've talked about the motions and stuff, and we talk about getting everybody involved. We do a lot of misdirection. We do a lot of getting the running back, the tight ends, getting all 5 skill positions involved. And that's fine and all. But what you have to realize, the flip side of that is you're in 5-man protection a lot, which means it's just the offensive line. There's no extra tight end chipping. There's no running back stand in. For example, for fantasy football players, Chris Thompson from the Redskins, he's a guy that I've had for a while. And he's good because he's a receiving back. Now today he didn't have a great game, and I, happened to watch the game against the Packers. He didn't have a great game because they kept him in the pass protect a lot. It was an adjustment. It was like, yes, we like this type of offense, but we understand with the matchup, we can't do that. We haven't done that so far yet. So what we've been doing is keeping our offense the way it has been, which is putting everybody out in play, but that leaves the offensive line vulnerable. So we had that early sack where they blitzed off the edge, and I'm seeing people saying offensive line suck. Offensive line don't suck. There's more people than you can block. That's just simple. When you man up blitz and blitz 6, that's more people than you can block. It's no different if you're going empty. It don't matter if you line up with a running back or a tight end or whoever. If everybody's out in the route, it's the same thing as being an empty. And so when you're in empty, there's only 5 people that can protect. And if you man blitz, then that's one more person than you can block. And so that 6th person is the responsibility of the quarterback. So that's where Trubisky comes in, where yes, by scheme, he's going to be under pressure if we continue to do things like that. But at the same time, a great quarterback or a good quarterback, they understand they're responsible for that 6th person, meaning if that 6th person blitz, you have to know where to go with the ball, or you have to know where to move with the protection. What he did is they blitzed off the edge and he scrambled backwards, which is the worst thing you can do because you're making the target easier for the 2 guys on the edge instead of stepping up or getting it out quick to where the open person is. So there's a little bit of both. And I'm not saying, again, Trubisky, yes, he can do something to mitigate that, but understand the stuff that Nagy is doing also lends itself to that weakness. And you know, when you run an offensive scheme, it's always got pros and cons. The con to what we do is we're susceptible to blitzes, and defenses are smart. Defenses are super smart in the NFL. It don't take them long to figure it out. And so looking at our what we like to do, people understand we can blitz, and not just blitz as in catch Trubisky, but also blitz with a lot of this misdirection stuff, pulling guards, motioning a person, then blocking back across all that. Once you blitz, you can catch gaps and you can end up getting in between people and blowing a play up. And it's a gamble, but that's one they were clearly willing to take. And so that's the thing with our offense in a general sense that people got to realize going forward, that if we continue to play like that, that's just something we're going to have to deal with. Now, offensively, as far as a grade, look, I don't think Jordan Howard fits what we're trying to do. I know he was a shotgun runner in high school, or in college, I'm sorry, at UAB in Indiana, which is cool and all, but this is different. I just don't, I mean, inside zone is one thing. Yes, it looks like everybody's moving, but it's still an inside play, with just different cutback options. But the perimeter stuff we do that is designed to go to perimeter, he does not fit it. And I know, I don't know, but I can look and tell, to me, that Nagy is trying to be able to run the same stuff with Tariq that he runs with Jordan Howard, which keeps offensives guessing. They can't really key in on what plays we running. The problem is those are 2 different backs, and Jordan Howard does not fit well with that perimeter stuff that we're trying to do. Putting him more in the passing game has been nice. He's not a natural catcher. He still body catches a lot, but it's been nice that he's been able to do that. But other than that, I think what we saw from him before fit him much better, where he's downhill north and south, and not so much what we're trying to do with him on the perimeter, because that's when he doesn't have good plays, in my opinion. So early on, I saw our interior line when we spread them out. I thought we did well, kind of pushing some gaps open and really moving people, but eventually it became what I usually see, and that's we don't have power blockers besides Kyle Long. Everybody else is good. Like, we're good when we're in space. We're good when we're on the move, but we're not good head-to-head drive blocking except Kyle Long. And I thought Kyle Long was absolutely great today in the interior, in and out in space. I thought he was really good today. But overall, the offensive line, we got to understand why bread is buttered. And, you know, that's the hard part when I say Jordan Howard's built for one side, but then I talk about offensive line not necessarily being that type. You know, you just got to get the right personnel. And I don't know if Jordan Howard fits what we're trying to become. We know he can run and we know he can do what we used to do, but what we're trying to become, I don't know if he's the best fit for it. And that's why I think you see Cohen just kind of fit more naturally with what we're doing. So yeah, on top of that, Trubisky, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. There's a lot of conversation to be had about that. Overall, I just think that he is a spread quarterback right now. I've said it before, and some people try to talk crap in the comments, which is fine, but prescribed plays. They're like the plays where he knows where he's going or where he's supposed to go. That's when you see he does his best. When he has to make the decisions and he has to move around and adjust, that's when things don't look as well. And that's a spread quarterback because you're used to being told where to go. And so that is just something he has to grow with. And again, I'm not throwing him away right now. I'm just saying that's kind of what it is right now. So overall as an offense, and I think the Cardinals defense, while they're not who they used to be, they're still pretty good. I mean, you still got Patrick Peterson, who's a bona fide cover corner, and you got Budda Baker replacing Tyrann Mathieu. They got a lot of active players. They play really well. I think, yeah, they really made it tough for Trubisky. He really did not see the field well. Even though we ran a little bit, we did a little something here and there, and you see our receiver, you see that we should be open and we should be moving, but we just don't as much as we should. I'm going to give us a C. I'm going to give us a C for the day. Defensively, I mentioned before the communication bust where that first touchdown to Ricky Seals, nobody was there. And you watch the replay, the outside receiver ran kind of across a route. Some people call it an over. It's across a route. And Ricky Seals ran what looked like across a route, but then bended it back to a corner. And the thing is, Eddie Jackson was up on the line, probably playing some type of robber or cover 3. Or actually, I think it was man, because that's the only way I would figure that Ricky Seals was that open is if we were playing cover 1 man. And so the safety over the top, Amos, he went with the deep crosser and nobody covered Ricky Seals. So I don't know what covers we're in. I'm just speculating, but I know Eddie Jackson and most of them got sucked up on the play action because they play action first, and then Aaron Lynch was out there, so maybe he had the curl, but I doubt it. And so it just ended up being wide open. That was a bust. And then it was, I wouldn't say it's a communication bust. That second touchdown, honestly, it was just a real good play by Bradford, sorry. And David Johnson's a mismatch. We talked about, but the thing is with Trevathan and Roquan, yeah, they got beat, but our other linebackers wouldn't did no better, and most linebackers wouldn't do no better in the league. So I still like them as far as a matchup. It was just they didn't have a pass rush. And the thing I noticed is that I don't know if at some point Leonard Floyd got hurt, but he was out most of the game. And Aaron Lynch was in a lot. And I'm not liking Aaron Lynch. That is not the Aaron Lynch I remember in San Fran. He does not look good at all. He looks a lot slower. His hand play is terrible. I don't think he does anything when he comes in. So, one person tried to, of course, they were like, the Bears got this many sacks and they're ranked this in the league. How can you sit here and say you're not convinced of the pass rush? And you watch this game and I'm like, that's why. Because when it's time to pass rush, we didn't really have anyone unless Mac was turning up. And I've said that before. Outside of Mac, I'm still waiting to see. I have not seen anything promising. I think Leonard Floyd got the club off finally, but he wasn't in a lot. So we got to kind of see what that's going to be. But then you got Aaron Lynch who comes in and he doesn't do much. And so Khalil Mack can win in so many ways, but he's still getting in shape. And plus he's a one person. And so I'm still waiting. Who's that other person? There's so many times, especially early on, where Bradford had time. And honestly, the sacks don't always tell the story. Like, numbers don't tell the story. I say it all the time. Numbers don't tell the story. You could get a sack, But maybe the quarterback held the ball too long. Maybe the coverage was good. It was a coverage sack. Who knows? My thing is, I think as far as, screw the time, or screw the sacks, I think quarterbacks had too much time in general. And so that's when you start to see those issues. Like David Johnson on a wheel route, that takes a lot of time to get to the end zone. I mean, on a long field, but it takes time. So to tell me that the pass rush was getting there and they beat them on that play, I don't buy it. And I didn't see that in the game. So, but we gelled up. Like I said, we kind of fixed those breaks. Eddie Jackson has been continuing to show really good stuff. I mean, good range. Like I said, I like him a lot better in the run game. These are all positive things I've been waiting to see. So I really like that. I mean, they don't have that many receivers to challenge our corners, so I don't think there was an issue today. The offense just wasn't built to really do a lot. And once we stopped shooting ourselves in the foot, then we really took care of business. So, no issues there, but some big bust early on that could have cost us the game. We only won by 2 points. So I'm going to go ahead and give the, defense a B+. Yeah, we capitalized on some bad plays and got turnovers and all that later on, but those were big plays early on and you got to clean that stuff up. So I'm going to give them a B+. Yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts. I think that's pretty much everything. I love to hear what everybody else has to say. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you thought about the game. Share it around. Get the convo started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember if you heard it. Oh, sorry. I always do that. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.